let's talk about how to raise money. Welcome to the funding game. Well, in many regards, it is a bit like a game. You might have heard already or read somewhere that VCs and investors are kind of herd animals, right? And what's one of the sort of defining characteristics of a herd animal is that, the herd goes where the alpha is leading. That said, it's not very different when you're raising around. VCs and investors in general are herd animals. It's important to keep in mind that you are the one that's leading this round, not your investors, not your advisors, not whatever. You are leading this round. Investors, being a little bit like herd animals, will follow. They will follow as long as they think that you already have another lead or someone who's expressed an interest. Now, it's important during this whole process of talking to investors that you stay in the driver's seat, right? You're going to get all sorts of feedback. None of it is going to be very relevant. None of it is going to be honest, that honest. People in the VC business and business angels are also very polite and nice people, at least to your face. They won't necessarily always say what they're thinking. And also, investors being people, they will also say things just to make up a story about how to put you down gently. This is your round. This is your process. This is your game for the winning. You are going to stay in the driver's seat and don't lose focus. Don't get sidetracked. The funding game is a numbers game. And what that means is that you need to talk to a hell of a lot of investors to raise interest in at least a handful of investors, and maybe find one or two that are willing to give you a term sheet, willing to lead the round. The funding game is a numbers game. That means shop your pitch around, go and see and talk to a lot of investors. Anything they say that is not a yes is a no. Move on to the next one. So what you're going to do is leverage that yes. We're going to take that yes and go back to investors and also to the new investors that we're talking to and say, hey, we got someone who's interested. And maybe we're going to talk a tall tale and mention that maybe we're going to have another term sheet or someone also by the end of the day. Basically, what you're doing is leveraging that yes to get the interest back at investors you already visited. And also, of course, get the interest piqued by the investors that you're now talking to for the first time. So we're not going to marry the first one that says yes. We're going to take that yes, well, of course, except from when that yes is from your ideal investor candidate. If not, we're going to leverage that yes and get a better deal. And now we're leveraging that yes. We're basically playing investors against investors and basically driving the deal and the interest to get the price, to get the valuation and the terms that we want. Because nothing gets the investor more excited and more interested than getting the fear of missing out on your round. FOMO is your friend, but you have to help create it. That FOMO does not regularly come from itself. You need to generate it. And then, boom! Party time! somebody writes a check so you can close your round at a valuation you can live with on your terms so you can build your dream. Here's a reality check. Deck sent means everybody knows. Well, at least you should treat it like that. Because once you've sent a pitch deck to an investor, you should assume that any and all investors know you're raising the round. The investment world is, after all, a pretty small one. So don't be surprised if your pitch deck ends up somewhere you did not intend it to. So be aware. Deck sent means clock is now running. Once you've sent a pitch deck to an investor, the round is officially running. You now got about 3 months to close, after which is going to become exponentially harder because investors are, of course, wondering why you haven't closed yet, and thus probably going to ghost you or sort of turn you down gently. Congratulations, you now have 2 business models. What does that mean? Well, more money, more problems, probably. You now have 2 business models to satisfy: your own and the business model of your investors. You better pray and hope they'll stay aligned for the foreseeable future, because if and when they diverge, let's pray they don't, you're not going to be in for such a great time. And also, congratulations! You bought the ticket and now you have to take the ride. Most likely, you're now going to raise money forever, or at least until an exit. Because you bought the ticket to ride, so you're committed to be raising rounds indefinitely until a liquidation event, which is basically a fancy word for an exit, which means that either you get bought, you go on the stock exchange through an IPO, or you go bankrupt. Well, you better prepare to fundraise again in about 6 to 9 months for the next round. This is just how this game works.